Welcome, and thank you for joining us for today's DealerOn webinar, 6 Cutting-Edge Video Strategies that Drive Sales and Service. My name is Eliana Raggio, and I'll be your moderator today. Today's webinar is being presented by DealerOn. For anyone who isn't familiar with DealerOn, we're an award-winning website development company and digital agency, best known for our amazing SEO, the best customer service, and the highest converting website designs in the industry, including the award-winning Chameleon Responsive Website Platform. We got back from NADA earlier this year. We were awarded the Driving Sales Dealer Satisfaction Award for top-rated websites for an unprecedented 6th year in a row. We also took home the AWA Award for Best Websites for a 3rd time. Plus, FCA announced that we're now an approved vendor. We're still the only company in the industry that offers a money-back lead guarantee program. Do you want to know more? Yeah, you do. You can check us out at our gorgeous brand new DealerOn website at DealerOn.com. Also, DealerOn is going to be exhibiting and presenting at the upcoming Digital Dealer Convention. We're putting our money where our mouth is. You can score $50 for simply coming to booth 305 and sitting through a demo. That's right. All you have to do is sign up for your demo at DealerOn.com. We'll even toss in a copy of the new book we wrote on local SEO. While you're getting your digital dealer on, please check out the speaking sessions from The Beard and the Hair, Greg Gifford and Sean Rains. Remember, it's booth 305. I'm going to be there. I'm going to be hosting Tech Tank this year, so please make sure you come out and say hi. Hope to see you there. We have a great show in store for you today. We have 2 expert presenters today. First, Anthony Carroll is a senior account executive within Google's automotive retail team, which is responsible for mining Google's data to better understand how automotive shoppers are leveraging the web throughout their path to purchase. The auto retail team focuses on providing regional specific insights and recommendations that support dealer ad associations and dealerships in winning customers in the ever-changing digital landscape. Prior to joining Google, Tony spent 13 years in the automotive industry where he held a variety of different roles within the sales and marketing organizations at Fiat Chrysler Group and Gulf States Toyota. He is based in Austin, Texas, and is an avid outdoorsman and pilot. Joining Tony today is Mr. Video himself, Phil Sura, who started the automotive division of UnityWorks Media, a web video company supporting dealerships across the U.S. and recognized as the video pioneer in the automotive space. Phil has spent the last 13 years developing cutting-edge video strategies for dealers across the country. Phil has spoken at NADA 2016 and 2017 and has facilitated the keynote digital panel sessions for 2 FCA Service Manager conferences, as well as 21 of the 22 digital dealer conferences. He's also presented at the CBT Automotive Conference, Innovative Dealer Summit, and numerous regional digital sessions, all focused at improving performance for both sales and service teams. He can be reached at phil@unityworksmedia.com. Now, just so you know, Phil Sura is going to be presenting at the upcoming Digital Dealer Convention in Vegas, September 18th to the 20th. He'll be talking about transforming your digital approach with video. And he'll be joined by a couple of heavy hitters, too. Peter Lito, Head of Industry for Automotive Retail at Google, and Philip Rather, Head of Automotive Partnership at Facebook. Wow! You're not going to want to miss this, people. You can also catch up to him at Digital Dealer at booth 321. For tickets or for more info on Digital Dealer, visit digitaldealerconvention.com. Now, during the presentation, if you have any questions, please use the question feature located on the corner of your screen to submit them. At the end of the presentation, we'll answer those questions of general interest. If we're unable to get to your question live, we're going to try to respond by email later today. Also, don't forget, a link to download a copy of this webinar recording will also be emailed to you later today for your reference. Feel free to share it with your friends and colleagues. And guess what? Our good friends at Google and UnityWorks Media are giving away a sweet prize on today's webinar. 2 of you lucky webinar attendees will win a Google Chromecast. Such a cool prize. You have to be on the live broadcast to score this cool giveaway, though, so stay tuned for your chance to walk away with one of these awesome prizes today. Also, at the conclusion of the webinar, you're going to get a short survey, so fill it out because we're always looking for quality feedback from our audience. We want your opinion to be heard. And hey, do you tweet much? We hope you do. We'd love to see what you have to say about today's presentation, so please tag us in it. You can use hashtag DealerOnWebby. I'm at Eliana Raggio. You can also hit up Phil Sura at Mr. Web Video. We look forward to seeing what you're saying. All right, everyone, let's get started. There we go. Let's get started. Let's learn 6 cutting-edge video strategies that drive sales and service. Let's say hi to Phil Sura first. Phil, how are you, sir?
Hey, I'm doing fantastic, and it's a great day because I'm on a show with you and Tony.
And
so
Tony,
it's good to have both of them.
How are
I
you,
think
sir?
Tony's back.
Did Tony make it back in?
Yeah, I'm good. Can you hear me?
Oh, there he is. Yes, yes. Thank
Good.
you so much. I'm glad you made it back in, Tony. And by the way, for everyone who may not know, this is Tony Carroll's very first DealerOn webinar. So thank you so much for being here today with us. So glad to have you and looking forward to hearing all of your insights. So thank you so much for that.
You bet. Can you hear me okay, Eliana?
Yes, you sound great. Please stay with us. Okay, so before we get started, let's tell the audience the kinds of things that we're going to be learning about today. Phil, will you go over the objectives?
Absolutely. So we have some really exciting things to talk about, and Tony was able to grab some content that will be discussed, brand new content tied to video and Google's inside metrics and analysis. I'm excited to have Tony share some of that. But we'll start, first of all, talking about the customer journey on how people actually purchase a new vehicle. And again, this is coming straight from Google. Tony's going to talk about that path and how video can make an impact. So we're going to talk about influencing prospects and auto intenders to come into the dealership. And segueing into objective number 2, how you can leverage both Google and Facebook. So even though I'm sharing the stage or this session with Tony representing Google, we'll talk a little bit about how Facebook can help from a video perspective. Third objective, we'll discuss, once you get these prospects engaged with your dealership, how can video actually help with lead responses and lead follow-up? And then finally, how can you leverage video with your service teams? So each of these individually are pretty important. Collectively, I think that we're going to talk about some game-changing opportunities for everybody.
I think that sounds great. And then, of course, after the presentation that you have ready for us, we're going to do the giveaway and then get to question and answers. So audience, don't be shy. If you have a question about any of this video content, video strategy, send those questions in. We're looking forward to helping you with your video strategy. Right, guys?
All right.
All right. Where do we get started?
Tony, lead the charge, buddy.
Morning, everybody. Yeah, so this is very important. This slide, what it shows is really the change in media consumption, as the title says. And what you have here are two people. So what you see on the left is a gentleman, just an average, everyday Joe, and what his media consumption is. As you can see, it's about 44% online. However, this changes drastically when you are in market for an automobile. This is data here, right? So don't take my word for it. This is Polk data. We all know and love Polk. When someone is in market for an auto, their consumption shifts drastically online. In fact, it's 75%. The reason this is important, and I love that we're starting out with this slide, is when we have these discussions about, hey, how do I allocate my resources, right? How much should I spend on digital? I've got a finite amount of marketing budget to move around. I think it's a very fair conversation, and these are to say that allocating your resources to marketing, and you look at what the modern day media consumption is for a customer, I think it's fair to say it should be between 45 and 75%. All right, Phil. Is that
we just lost you for a second. So let's let's talk a little bit. And Tony, thanks for the overview on how dealers should be spending their money and the importance of digital. So we have Melissa, and she's looking at a new car. She lives in Minneapolis, and wherever you folks are called in, I think we have 200 people listening in. Melissa could be in Austin, Texas, San Francisco, New York. She has 3 kids. She's interested in buying a new reliable SUV. Because she lives in Minneapolis, she's interested in making sure that it's good on snow, good gas mileage, and she's currently driving a Ford Explorer. So let's talk a little bit about what's critical in this journey with Melissa. So Tony, from your perspective with Google, does search play an important role, and how so?
Good question, Phil. It does. We know that search is highly correlated to sales. In fact, it's virtually a 1-to-1 ratio, and we see that as the SAR, right, which we all know is the seasonally adjusted annual rate, as the SAR goes up, search goes up. As SAR goes down. So we know that search is highly correlated. It is a low funnel go-to for someone when they are in market, they turn to search, and there are certain matter, right, as that customer experiences those moments across their path to purchase. And this is a good example here, what you see for Melissa. So Melissa's, in the funnel, she's looking for SUVs. She's searching things like reliable SUV, safe SUV, and she's starting to look for a certain OEM. Fuel economy is obviously important, and now she's starting to look at the model. Then she looks, okay, look, I think it's right for me. I'm interested in this vehicle. I think I can afford it, but now I'm looking at deals, right? That's a good example of a moment that matters to a dealer. Things like deals, I want to make sure that, hey, I know I can afford it, but I don't want to pay more than I need to. So this is a really good example of that. So again, with the moments that matter, which you've heard, and you'll probably hear myself and my counterparts, Kelly McNerney on the West Coast and Diffender on the East, and Tim in the East as well. We will talk about those moments that matter. And this is a good example of a search engine results page. A customer is looking for a Ford Escape. They're clearly in one of those search moments, and this is a great example of being of what what kind of results would populate. So you can see here there's a tier 1 site with the Ford.com, and then that tier 2 site with Buy Ford Now. Phil?
All right.
Okay. As many of you know, right, we all know online is important. Based on our research, there are 24 average touch points for this journey that Phil mentioned earlier that we're going to talk more about. 19 of those are digital. So these are just some examples of places that the customer will go. As you can see here from your screen, that top left, there's a consumer reports. She's looking for things like safety reviews, right? These are from the high-level consideration phase and awareness, and then they start to work their way down from that to, hey, I know it's right for me. I think this is the car I want, but can I afford it? Am I getting a deal? And then where should I buy it? And if you'll the bottom right, they're starting to actually look at an actual dealer, at the actual vehicle on their inventory page. We also know that they will visit 1.6 dealerships before they. I think something we in that old of, hey, look, there's traffic here, I'll sell the car. What we're seeing, really, the traffic is there. The traffic is online. The traffic goes to that search bar in Google. Oftentimes, I think that's where your meet and greet and your handshake happens. It's one thing to do with research. In fact, I would say, this is just a Tony stat, but I would say the reason it's 1.6 is because the first dealer didn't close them and they went to another store. But clearly, the customer here, they're visiting fewer stores. They have the information available to them. And they're visiting more websites now instead of actual dealerships. Phil, I think this is you.
Okay, so yeah, let's talk a little bit about how dealers go about attracting Melissa. And for years, TV has been obviously a huge opportunity, traditional media, and hopefully everybody is calculating as a percentage, which ties into the very first screen that we kicked this off with, the percentage of dollars being invested in digital versus traditional. So in the past, one old way or traditional way of going about trying to get Melissa's interest is trying to figure out, okay, what are the prime spots for promoting, let's say, a commercial. Today, because of the use of smartphones, et cetera, the prime time spot is, quite frankly, whenever Melissa is online. And so these opportunities have changed tremendously by leveraging video pre-roll, or video ads on Facebook, and that's one of the first focuses that we'd like to talk about. So Tony,
Yeah,
I believe that this is a Google slide.
Yeah, and I think to that point, Phil, what we say here is look, video is alive and well, right? So we're not saying that people aren't watching video. In fact, the people are watching more video than ever. There's been some explosive growth there. What we've seen, though, is that there's been a real paradigm shift. That to Phil's point about the Prime TV spot, that notion, there's been so much disruption here in this space that notion really is dead. People have really shifted to watching things online, right? So if you see that the growth is 30%, it's hard to believe, Phil. I mean, when I saw these numbers that someone actually watches this much video per day, I double-checked this, triple-checked it through multiple sources, and it really is. These are accurate numbers. People actually are watching this many hours of video per day. But I think a lot of it's because it's online, and we're going to talk too about how not only that, it happens from a mobile device, which I think is super interesting if you're in the car business right now with YouTube.
Mm-hmm. So, and I believe this is a slide from Nielsen, and Tony, some of your folks have used this, and the recommendation for those of you that are listening that still believe in those primetime spots with TV, great. If you shift 10% of those dollars into an online focus, again, video pre-roll, you'll actually be able to reduce the CPM, the cost per 1,000, and increase the reach because of concepts that you may or may not have heard of, cord cutters, cord nevers. These are people that are actually consuming all of that video in non-traditional ways. They are not going to, let's say, the TV. They're consuming the sports, their news online. And so by just shifting a percentage of the budget by leveraging Google as an example can dramatically increase your capabilities of finding those auto intenders. So, Tony, you guys have, as Google, a couple major platforms. One is TrueView. TrueView, do you want to talk a little bit about YouTube and the importance of that?
I would love to. Can you hear me, Phil? I sound like I'm on a break up there.
Yeah. No.
Yeah. And this is one of the greatest products out there right now. I think that if, as a dealer, you would do yourself a great service to understand this product, and that is what Phil mentioned. It is called TrueView. I'll explain to you how this works. Now, remember, before I get into this, the way that the YouTube platform works is that we are monitoring user behavior. So it's based on their activity versus, let's say, what many dealers know of the traditional TV approach is this, I've heard somebody, they called it kind of a spray and pray approach. You hope that maybe 1% of the market is in market for a car, and you blast the TV spot. YouTube is very different. So we're going to actually be able to target in-market customer based on their activity. Give you an example of that, right? So if someone has searched 6 or 7 times for a Ford Escape review, safety features, walk around, etc. Well, Phil, they're probably in the market for a Ford Escape, right, or another SUV. So
no
based
question.
on that, we can get your content, your ad, whether that be a pre-approved ad or something you did on your own, get that in front of an in-market audience, which drastically increases the odds that they're going to want to hear your message. Now, having said that, once they do see your message, this product here, TrueView, I'll explain to you how it works. You guys are all familiar with the skip button. So you're going to see your favorite video, and then all of a sudden here comes an advertisement, right? And that button in the bottom right-hand corner says you can skip in 5 seconds. So most of us skip, right? That's fine. We all hit that skip button. 2 things happen there, right? One is your customer gets basically a free impression because they see you for 5 seconds. The other is, though, you're giving them a choice. And believe it or not, ladies and gentlemen, this happens millions of times per day. There are so many people out there watching these, and we are able to get you in front of an in-market audience that there are actually a lot of people that choose to watch this. Now, when they choose to watch it, let's say they watch it 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 15 seconds. If they hit skip prior to 30 seconds, you are not charged for that view. Now, if your video is less than that, let's say you have a 28-second commercial, then you would be charged at the end of that commercial. But What this means essentially is that you are now only paying when a customer chooses to engage with your message. There really isn't any other type of platform out there existing today like this. You can't do this in any other kind of media, but you are essentially only paying for engagement. So you get zero waste, and you get an audience that chose to engage with you. It's really, really great stuff, and I suggest that you try this as a dealer.
All right, so there's also a second platform that Google owns called DoubleClick. And with DoubleClick, Tony, if I'm not mistaken, we have the ability to actually serve these ads up and again follow the intenders down to the segment. So if you're looking for somebody like Melissa and you want to do conquesting, although she owns a Ford Escape or a Ford Explorer right now, and she may be looking at Escapes, she is a conquest opportunity for anybody that is obviously selling SUVs. So Google's done a tremendous job. They've got two powerful platforms. One, which Tony just talked about, being YouTube, which, by the way, hopefully everybody knows this next point, second largest search engine in the entire world. Another opportunity would be serving these ads up and hitting Melissa, who's an auto intender who has expressed interest in SUVs, regardless of where she's going. She may be going to Fox, CNN, the Daily Beast. So as she hits and tries to, let's say, find out what the latest is with the hurricane coming towards Florida, and she's going to the weather station or Fox or some of these other key sites, she has the ability to, just like Tony described, get one of these ads, whether it's 15 seconds, 30 seconds. Google also has some opportunities with what they call bumper ads, 6-second ads before some of the video content. And Tony is going to elaborate a little bit on that. So I thought it would be good to play an example of a pre-roll spot. So this is a 30-second spot that's skippable. And I'd mentioned 30 and 15 seconds. Some dealers have tested non-skippable ads. Personally, I would not recommend that because I think you would irritate and alienate a percentage of the people. I think if they know that they can skip it after 5 seconds, people are not going to be put off by that. But this is an example of what a pre-roll ad looks like. Make a notation of the branding at the beginning, the offer, and then some type of key features tied to the vehicle, and then a call to action. So all of those should be elements if you're doing pre-roll.
We put the customer first at Criswell Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram.
Introducing the all-new 2017 Jeep Compass. Click the video now and discover unsurpassed 4x4 capabilities, outstanding on-road dynamics, and grin-inducing fuel efficiency. Make the legendary all-new Jeep Compass yours today. The summer clearance sales event is on now. Click for special offers and get behind the wheel of a safe and secure Jeep Compass today.
At Criswell Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram, we're driven by you.
All right, so hopefully everybody picked up on those points. That was 30 seconds, but there's a lot of information. And the idea is with Melissa looking for a midsize SUV, the Compass, the new Compass, is new. She may have never even heard of Compass, and this is an opportunity to actually follow Melissa if you're with the DoubleClick side, and as she looks for news or content where video is actually prevalent and we have the ability to serve those ads up, we're serving those ads to her in a geo-targeted area. So let's say by default 20 miles around the store, if you as a dealer have the ability to actually track zip codes where you want to serve those ads, you have that ability as well. Same thing on the TrueView side. These are geo-targeted around the store. Again, you're identifying by segment and by a key part of the audience rather than serving the ads up to everybody in, let's say, your area. So Tony, we serve these ads, and again, these are stats from Google. What is Melissa going to do after she watches one of these videos?
It's a great question, and I think I love this slide because it speaks to the heart of what you're trying to do as a dealer. Ultimately, guys, you need to sell cars. You need to schedule appointments, schedule test drives, pencil deals, get people in F&I, put a car over the curb, right? So all this stuff is great, but at the end of the day, you guys are going to say, hey, what's in it for me? I need to sell cars. This is very, very important to that because it says, A, not only does 97, let's say basically everyone, perform an action after they watch a video, the actions that they perform speak to the heart of what you're trying to get done. The number one action after watching an in-market auto content video on YouTube is that they visit a dealership. Very important. The second action is that they keep searching your inventory. Now this is great because as a dealership, that's gold. You want someone to search your inventory, you want someone to land on a VDP because they're typically their next action is going to be going calling you for a test drive. They also continue to do more research online. So Phil speaks to is that they're not just watching videos and then going about their day. They're watching these videos, they're in market for a car, and then they're taking action by visiting a store.
So if I'm a general manager or a marketing director in charge of a budget, for sure, my goal should be driving traffic, foot traffic into the dealership or getting them to my VDPs. And Tony, these are big stats. So what you're saying, Google has done research, and with video pre-roll, you have some pretty big success stories or huge opportunities as a dealer to accomplish just that. Is that fair?
That's right.
Okay. Eliana, I think we've got our first question.
I think that's
tied to video pre-roll.
Great idea. Yes, yes, yes. All right, audience, we have 3 poll questions coming your way today. The first one is on your screen now, and of course, we would love it if you'd answer this question for us now. So the question is, how is video pre-roll advertising working for you? Please select one of the following answers. Is it, hey, it's working great for us? Or what about, we're looking to improve. We aren't quite seeing the results we would like to yet. Or how about, I'm not sure we're doing it right. We may need to start over. Or maybe you've tried video pre-roll in the past and weren't happy, but you know what? Now you might be interested in trying it again. Or the last answer is, you know what? We're currently not doing video pre-roll. That's fine too. Once we get a majority of the votes in, we're going to close this poll and share the results. Of course, I'm going to let you know, Phil and Tony have put in a lot of great video examples in today's presentation. So we already saw one. You're going to be seeing some more of those coming up as well. Now, if you have any questions for Tony and or Phil, get those questions in. We're going to be getting to them right after we give away the prize after the presentation. Some questions are already coming in, which is great. Okay, so a couple more seconds and then we'll close this poll. How is video pre-roll advertising working for you? Phil, Tony, we're about to find out. You ready?
All right. Yeah. Let's hear
it.
Let's do it. All right. Audience, thank you so much for your votes. All right. How is video pre-roll advertising working for you? 26% of today's audience say it's working great for us. Wow, that's great. Awesome. That's more than a quarter. Yes.
Yep. That's great.
18% of today's audience say that they're looking to improve what they have going on right now because they're not seeing the results that they would like to just yet. Only 3% of today's audience say they're not sure they're doing it right and they may need to start over. 3% of today's audience also said that they did it in the past and they weren't happy with the results they got from video pre-roll, but you know what? They might be ready to try it again. However, the majority of today's audience, over half, 51% of today's audience, say that they are not currently doing video pre-roll. Very interesting. Phil, Tony?
Sounds like there's some opportunity. So for those of you that said, hey, we weren't sure if we were doing it, and I love this because as I'd mentioned at the very beginning, Google has been doing a lot of analysis, and I think, Tony, you've got some best practices that you can share with everybody.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, and what we see here is some information that we have that's really hot off the press. We have a group here at Google that did a deep dive into some automotive videos and just looked at, where is the engagement, right? And before I kind of get into each one of these, because these are, I think, some really good ones that we can all put some thought to, but I wanted to kind of talk about what this is and what it's not. What it is really a starting point. This is a starting point for discussions. It's about really having unique creative and why that's important to when you're executing on YouTube. It's really about concepts and ideas and really trying to inspire you to try to build great creative, because this is really about creative is what we've seen from this research. And then just provide some examples about high-performing ads so that you guys can discuss. And then what it's not. This is not a comprehensive checklist. It's not a how-to guide of techniques that will just guarantee success for ad creative. It's not a magic bullet. It's also not something that you can just say, hey, I'm sending this to my agency and just kind of release this into the wild without further discussion. So what it is a guide. This is just a great starting point for us to have a good conversation. And what we've seen there are five key things when it comes to automotive and video and engaging with those customers. The one is go bright, right? When we see the top performing ads, they are using really bright, high contrast colors. Remember, a lot of our views happen on mobile devices. In fact, most of our views do. So those screens are smaller, and many of them are dimmed. These are things that they think about with calls here like this with Eliana and Phil. And so that's something that we can kind of bring to light that would help you put better creative out there. The second is go fast. You have a limited amount of time, and you really want to jump right into the action and just get that customer interested and hooked quickly. You really don't have time to slowly build into a story. That's not what this is about. That should not be your objective. Third is feature focus. So you want to make sure that you bring these features to life, right? You want to show why it's important to them as a customer, and really don't try to cram too much of this into a short amount of time. And don't try it because you will not be safe. Fourth, if you time after time are really the human aspect is what people and storytelling. Well,
Tony, you're kind of sounding like you're underwater. You okay?
I'm great. I'm great.
Okay, so you're not underwater. Okay, that's good.
No, I'm chef. I'm not underwater. I don't think. And then the final one.
Well, if you could go over number 4 again, we completely didn't catch anything you said about number 4. I'm sorry.
Okay. All right. It's basically the human element, basically storytelling and just really relating to that viewer. It's really important that they can become a part of the video quickly, and that really has worked well for dealers, is really introducing that human element early on in the process. Finally is this idea of get out. Nearly every single one of these ads had an outdoor aspect to it, and that's something that the customers really responded well to, and they were very, very effective is taking that human element and also being outside. So things like beach, snow, mountains, field, and things like that. So these are 5 tips. It's just some good starting points when it comes to creative, because creative is what drives us. There's also this idea of, hey, look, there's a lot of products out there, right? Go short or go long. Do I do a 15? Do I do a 30? Do I do a 6? And overall, this space is dominated by 30s. However, we've seen a mix of different results with this. As you can see here, you've got a 6, a 15, a 60, a 15. So we saw that when it came to like ad recall and awareness, had a really good response with some of the shorter ones like 15 and 6s. And then when you looked at consideration, those were generally longer. So I think that these are all, again, not something that you just hand to the agency and go, but I think that these are all great thought starters, and you need to think about what are my objectives as a dealership and how do I want to measure my success. You can go to the next slide. So when it comes to 6 seconds, this is something that is, not a lot of dealers are doing these. The key, number one, by far, focus, focus, focus. You have a very short amount of time, so do not be tempted to try to do the same things you would do in a 30-second ad. These are a 6-second ad is absolutely not a 30-second ad. So you've got to pick something. You've got to do really well at that and keep the focus on that message. You also want to, number 2, establish the ad. What is the meaning? All right, make sure that you're not including things that are not critical, because then the customer is just going to get lost. You also can do a flock of bumpers. You don't just have to have one. You can have a variety of these 6-second ads out there, and which allows you to break the story up into different chapters. I think this one's super exciting. You can do a lot of stuff with this, especially in the automotive space, because you can tell the story of your dealership through a variety of these 6-second spots. Then there's, hey, let's think beyond this 30-second mentality here, right? Which just kind of speaks to the fact that you have other options. You can go shorter. And then 5, stick the landing. You got to do this flawlessly. You've got a very small window, and you can't rush it. Know what you want to do it well, keep the focus, establish it, and if you want to, you can even do this in a group, what we call kind of a flock of bumpers together.
No, that's great. So now I think we're going to transition a little bit away from applications best practices and talk about the impact of mobile. And what have you guys seen? What's going on from a mobile perspective?
Yeah, Phil, even, Helen and I work at Google. I remember when I saw some of these stats, I thought, how is this, whenever our automotive searches, when they eclipse 60% from the mobile device, and then now they're at 70%. This just continues to grow. People absolutely love their phones. We all know that on the call here. But when it comes to researching and shopping, most people are actually using their mobile phones to do that. In fact, 40%, 41% of our users said it's actually their primary search device. What that means to you is that everything you should be doing as a dealership, one of the questions you need to ask is, no matter how great the idea is, let's stop, take a time out and ask ourselves, great, is this optimized for mobile? Is what we're talking about today and what we're about to invest our resources in optimized for the mobile space? Because most of our auto searches are coming from a mobile device, and most of our YouTube views are coming from a mobile device. Speaking of that, lots of good things happen when it comes to dealers and people using their mobile device. 90% of the actions are dealer related. So they're doing a lot of things. They're checking offers, they're comparing features, locating dealerships. That's a big one, right? You want people to find you when they're looking for you. They're actually searching your inventory from a mobile device. They're looking at images. They're actually calling your dealership. That's huge, right? So in fact, 1 in 3 will use it to call your store. And they will also read reviews and ratings. And if you go to the next slide, we show here that, hey, from a mobile perspective, what are some top 3 things that we need to know as dealers? People love viewing images from their mobile device. What does this mean to you? You want to make sure that your images are very clear, that they load quickly, that there's no issues with the feed from your inventory, because people absolutely love looking at images on their mobile device. Secondly, 59% of our YouTube views come from a mobile device. That means that you want to make sure that everything you're doing, like I said earlier, is optimized for mobile, and you want to make sure that you get that content out there for them to see. And thirdly, they absolutely love to call or locate a dealer from their mobile device. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, we don't have 411 anymore. No one dials 411. You remember 411, Phil? That was I used to use the heck out of that.
Long time ago.
Yeah, but no one does that anymore. So what they do is they go to Google, they're looking for you, and then they click to call. So you want to make sure you're present in that moment when they're looking for you. And then something that I think is very important is that, look, there's a variety of ways that people can look at video, right? And we hear Facebook and other platforms out there which definitely draw a lot of views. I think, though, that while those are important, YouTube is a clear leader in the space. And when you take a look at the actions performed by these in-market auto customers, you see that no one really comes close. 56% of those views come from YouTube for in-market auto views. However, that number is drastically higher for the 18 to 34 demographic. It's 67%. So what this means to you is if you want to be in video, if you want to get your message in front of people that are in market for a car, YouTube is a great choice for that. Here's another one that I just love, Phil, because I know, look, I was in retail. I sold cars. I was a sales manager before I worked for an OEM. And I remember very clearly, the old, hey, can I step out real quick and make a phone call? whether they're in F&I or whether they're at the desk when you're penciling a deal. And what we've seen, the reality of what's happening here is often people are on their mobile device while they're at your dealership. What are they doing? Well, they're checking prices. They're checking to see if the price that they're paying is a good deal or not. They're looking to see if other vehicles are in stock. They're searching inventory. They're looking up hours of operation, discounts, and they'll even look at video, images again. What this means to you as a dealer is you want to be present in these moments. You don't want to be that guy that you've got a customer, they're about to ink the deal, and then they go out and have this moment where they're on their mobile device, they're actually on your lot, and then they do a search and you're just not present, and their competition is. Because what could happen, unfortunately, Phil, is they go back in and they say, hey, you know what, we need to think about this, we'll call you later.
And you lose the deal.
Right. Poll question.
Poll question it is. You guys are doing great. I love this back and forth that the two of you have, and I'm looking forward to seeing more videos. All right, audience, we have our second.
They're coming.
I know they are. There's a lot of them. We have our second poll question on the screen now. We want to know, how's video advertising on Facebook working for you? Please select one of the following answers. These might look familiar to you. Yep, they're the same answers as last time. So, is video advertising on Facebook working great for you? We have that answer. Are you looking to improve because you're not quite seeing the results you'd like? How about, I'm not sure we're doing it right, we may need to start over? We tried video advertising on Facebook in the past, but we weren't really happy, but you know what, we might try it again. Or we're not currently doing video advertising on Facebook. Once we get a majority of the votes in, we're going to close this poll and share the results. And audience, thank you so much. The votes are coming in nice and fast. We really appreciate that. It really helps us out. I know it helps out Phil and Tony. So get those votes in.
No question.
And Tony, I don't know what you did, but you're sounding a lot better now. I was worried about your audio there for a little bit. So you're sounding a lot better.
I think my phone said, I do not want Eliana mad at me, so I better shape up. I think that's what happened.
I don't know. Do you have to put a bunny ears or something on your head? I mean, what's going on? Are you moving to another part of the room? Well, whatever it is, it's working now. So thank you so much for fixing that for us. All right. We're still collecting your votes. Get those votes in. If there's somebody next to you who hasn't voted, nudge them a little bit, and let's get those votes in. And also, audience, we're looking forward to your questions. We already have a nice little handful of questions that have come in for Phil and Tony, so get those questions in. We're going to be getting to those after their presentation. All right. Gentlemen, if you're ready.
Absolutely.
Oh, look, another question just came in. I love it. Okay. Yeah, let's close this poll and share the results. All right. Okay, 22% of today's audience say video advertising on Facebook is working great for them. 35% of today's audience, so more than a third, that's great, say that they are using video advertising on Facebook, but they're looking to improve because they're not seeing the best results. They know there's better results for them and they want it. 5% of today's audience say they're not sure they're doing video advertising on Facebook correctly. They might need to start over. No one answered the fourth option, which was they did it in the past, weren't happy, and may try it again. However, the majority of today's audience, 38% of today's audience, say that they're not currently doing video advertising on Facebook. Is that surprising to you two?
No, because on the Facebook side, Google has been involved with pre-roll we've been dialed in with pre-roll with the Google side for 6 years. On the Facebook front, it's a much newer opportunity. They started with display. They're getting more and more dialed in with video as an application. From my personal point of view, what I would suggest to the audience, Google and Facebook are the two dominant leaders. They're different platforms and they respond differently. So with the percentage of folks that were involved in Google, makes sense. They kind of led the charge. But I would pay attention, let's say, to the next few slides, and you'll see some parallels with some of the stats that Tony shared. In terms of Facebook, they're a dominant leader. They do not want to be viewed just as a social site. There are 1.8 billion users each day. The audience is very loyal. And so if you think of Facebook, and most of you probably have a Facebook account, the average person goes back to Facebook 14 times a day. The average user will invest 50 minutes every day going back to Facebook. So here's an example of how a Facebook ad could actually be used to reach Melissa. Now, Tony had mentioned, and Tony, was 60% of your views are from a mobile device? Is that the
59,
number?
correct.
Okay,
yeah.
So it's actually closer with the Facebook side to like 92%. And we know that a high percentage of those video ads are going to be viewed in a muted type of format. And so it's a different application. We also would recommend a shorter type of video because the attention span with these Facebook users, I think the average person views each screen like 1.2 or 1.4 seconds. So one of the key metrics for Facebook is to get them to slow down for 3 seconds. So there's a 3-second engagement measurement, 5 seconds, 10 seconds, so forth. And so the video needs to be constructed where it's action-packed, shorter, not 30 seconds, 15 seconds would be a recommendation. We're getting back to, and now we're going to be changing gears. So what's the takeaway from this? If you have not been involved, and we didn't really talk about budgets, we, in the last 2 years, have managed 15,000 pre-roll campaigns, 15,000 out of just our operation. The vast majority of those budgets were $1,000. And so I constantly hear from dealers, can I really make an impact with $1,000? And the answer is absolutely, because what Google and Facebook are both doing is they're drilling in to a specific segment. So if you're in a town of, let's say, 2 million people, you're not advertising like you do with TV for all 2 million people. You're only zeroed in on the 1% that are probably actively engaged, and better than that, you can zero in by, let's say, the specific segment within the area, so SUV or mid-sized cars, etc. Let's talk just for a minute about performance. And I don't know if I have this in the deck, but I always hear, okay, well, what's a good job? Well, Google will say 20% completed views for a 30-second skippable ad's a good job. We actually are tracking typically at 30%. So if you're seeing a range from 20 to 30% completed views, if you're running 30-second spots, that's great. If you're at 15% completed views, in other words, 15% of the people are watching all 30 seconds, either go back to the drawing board and use some of those tips that Tony just shared, or tell your agency that they need to do a better job and find somebody else that can represent your brand a little bit better. So, you know, we're taking this journey of Melissa. The first part of this was really, how do we get Melissa engaged? If we're selling compasses or let's say a SUV that she may not be thinking of, how do you grab her attention? So the focus up until now has been branding your store, branding some of those models with her as an auto intender. Now we're going to focus a little bit. We go through all this and we drive her to the website. So Tony, what does the research from Google show is important from a video content perspective when Melissa hits your site? And one of the earlier stats showed, and I believe this is still true, Tony, that Melissa is going to, on average, hit 5 dealership websites. Is that still the case?
Yeah, that's right, 4.6. And, you know, if I'm a dealer, this slide is important to me because I'm thinking, okay, do people really watch video? If so, how many? Is it 10%? Is it 20%? How many people are watching? And then what are they watching? How long are they on there? Well, this speaks to, this is internal data we have based on consumer behaviors within YouTube. And what we see is over half, 57% of shoppers actually do watch video content. So pretty good on it. Then what do they watch? Okay, well, about a third of them watch 6 or more videos, right? So they're not just going and watching one and then leaving. 6 or more. They're spending over 30 minutes watching in-market auto videos here. 42% of them are doing that. And then 84% actually watched a video that was over 3 minutes long. So what that means is that while these things that we talked about earlier, pre-roll, 30s, 15s, bumpers, those are great attention grabbers, right? Can really help you. But then don't be afraid of putting things like a 3 or 4 minute walk around on YouTube. Right, these are things that people will want to engage with. We have here some numbers, as you can see. It's not a zero sum. People do more than one of these things, but about a third of the people will watch a test drive. Right, and I know we all don't like to admit this, but test drives are down. And that's just a fact. I think a lot of that is because video is really turning into the new showroom. About a third of the people watch test drives. About a third of them also watch vehicle features and highlights. A third of them watch a walk around. They also really, really like consumer reviews. And then they also really enjoy safety tests. Now, you don't have to build Rome in a day. Don't feel like you got to go out tomorrow and do all of these things flawlessly, but pick something. Pick one of these. Get with a trusted partner that you like. You can do this stuff in-house if you want. You can work with trusted partners like Phil when it comes to the paid stuff. But you can just get your best salesperson, video them doing a walk around. If you have someone who speaks Spanish, do something that's bilingual. Put it out there in the atmosphere. Put it out there in the universe. I think you'll be surprised at the engagement, and the customers will appreciate it. You can even take this stuff, put it in the signature of your email when you're responding to a lead, and I think the customers will flip out. They'll really love it.
All right, so I think we actually have some examples of what dealers could use to grab the attention of inventory.
2017 Toyota RAV4 Hybrid. With its athletic build and dynamic performance, this RAV4 is everything you want it to be.
So I'm going to mute it so I can talk over this, but this is an example of what's referred to commonly as full motion video content, and there are different apps and different ways of capturing the full video or a video overview of the car. This is a dealership in Madison, Wisconsin. They also do a nice job with the 360 where there are different icons where you can click and actually get an overview of the engine. And with the dealers that have been using this type of product, where they're tracking the engagement, in other words, the time spent on site, this tool in particular has really helped tremendously. Here's a video overview. I'm going to play a little bit of an example from Olathe Ford.
Today, I got a beautiful bright red used 2015 Ford F-150 XLT 4x4 with the big crew cab doors in the back end of it. Up front, you will see you do have automatic headlamps. You got a 5.0 liter V8.
Now, what I'm going to do with this video, these guys, and I really liked this. This is a pretty lengthy video overview. Tony, to your point, I believe this is 3 minutes long, so I'm not going to play all 3 minutes. But they actually introduce towards the end somebody, and you just mentioned this, that actually presents it in Spanish.
Esta linda troca viene con luces automáticas con descarga de alta velocidad. Esta linda troca viene con un motor de 5.0 litros de.
So, Tony, what are your thoughts on this from Olathe Ford? Do you like the overview?
I do. I like it, and I think it speaks to an important point, which I was trying to mention earlier about, you can do this stuff. What I mean by that, you don't have to hire a film crew, guys. You don't need to try to win any awards. You want it to be clean, but customers really like this organic feel. And I think some dealers are intimidated, Phil, when it comes to this space, because they think, gosh, I don't really want to hire a crew to come in here with a camera.
I might not sound as fluid. No question.
You don't have to do that. You can get a smartphone, hopefully get a newer one, and
no question. All right, so here is also some content that would be a recommendation. These are new model test drives. So again, and Tony, you mentioned that the percentage of test drives is down. One of the stats I've heard from some of your counterparts, and I believe that this is accurate, 52% of the new car buyers with your research from last year, 52% only demoed one car, which is just amazing to me. And so to Tony's point earlier, they're replacing the physical test drive by going online. So this is content that is available for a dealership to have directly on their website. And so some of you may say, well, they can find content kind of like this if they go to the OEM site. Well, why would you do that? Why would you want to lose that prospect or that opportunity? So we're going back to Melissa. She's hit the website. If you have video content on your website, you are at an advantage based on the stats that Tony just shared over the dealer that doesn't have video content. So I think we have our next poll question.
We do, our last poll question, actually. So thank you, guys. All right, last poll question, everyone. We want to know, how are video lead responses working for your dealership? Please select one of the following answers. We've never tried it. We'd like to get involved, but we don't know how. We've tried it in the past, but it was too labor intensive. We're doing it now. We're just not sure we're doing it right. Or we love it. It's helping us sell cars. So we want to know the answer to this. And by the way, Tony agreed with you. He said, don't overthink it. I agree. Yes. All right. So thank you so much for that comment. All right. We're waiting for your votes to come in. Once we get a majority of the votes in, we're going to close this poll and share the results. How are video lead responses working for your dealership? Well, we're going to find out in just another few seconds what you've said. All right. Votes are coming in nice and fast. I know we have a lot to get to still. I feel like we still have some. You only showed
we have about 20 more videos. We'll be here all afternoon.
I'm pretty sure we have at least a couple more videos.
Yes,
so
we do. Yes,
we do have a few more examples to show everyone. So please stick around, everyone. You guys are doing great. All right, video. What?
Oh, Eliana, I was just going to say while you're getting some of those responses, I noticed a lot of these are about, hey, are things working? And just to mention here while we're talking, I think that I would encourage everyone when you're looking at, hey, did something work or not? Data is tricky. It's a two-way street, and you have to really examine, like, how are we defining success? And I think as dealers, you should really want to have a seat at the table, work with your trusted partners on, hey, well, at the end of the day, when we just ran this campaign, then what did we do? How do we measure it? Did we just say, well, did we sell cars or not? Well, how many views did we get? Did it drive additional search? Because we actually see that video can drive additional search. Did it generate phone calls? Did it generate engagement on our website? Did it generate click for directions, right, through the search? So these are all things that, Eliana, I think that dealers should try to consider and look at how they're measuring success.
I think that's a very wise advice. Thank you so much, Tony. All right. Let's close this poll and share the results. Audience, thank you so much for your votes and for taking part in our poll questions. They really help us out. All right, let's see what we have here. Are video lead responses working for your dealership? Well, more than a third of you, 34% of today's audience, say they've never tried it. Interesting. 9% of today's audience say they'd like to get involved, but they're not really sure how. No one said that they've tried it in the past and it was too labor intensive. That's good. 13% of today's audience says we're doing it right now, but we admit we're not sure we're doing it right. And the majority, 44% of today's audience say video lead responses, yeah, they love them and they're helping them sell cars. That's good news. All right, Phil, Tony, where do we go from here?
All right, so let's look at some examples. And again, you do not have to be perfect. So I've got some rapid, just some quick examples of how dealers are actually engaging prospects by leveraging video. So I'm going to put you back on speaker. And the first gentleman is Manny.
Hey Parker, my name is Manny. I'm one of the sales consultants here at Hall Ford and Newport News. Sending you a quick video on the Edge Sport that you had inquired about on the cars.com website. I understand that you have some questions about leasing this particular vehicle. Just want to let you know that it is here and available. Very nice. Edge here. We got quite a few of them. You give me a call when you get a chance. You can reach me at 757-989-5700. I'd love to help you out.
Okay, what I like about Manny is he addresses the person by name. He's talking about questions that came up, best practice for sure, personalize it. And as a matter of fact, that was one of the points that Tony was talking about, even with pre-roll, personalize it to the person. And he looks like a nice guy. He looks like a place that I'd feel comfortable sending my parents into. Here's another one.
Gary from Smart Motors in Madison, Wisconsin. Just want to say thanks a lot for your interest in one of our vehicles. Let me know what I can do to help. I've prepared a short video here. Watch the video. If you have any questions, or if you'd just like to schedule a test drive, feel free to contact me at the number below, 608-354-3685. You can call, text, or email me. Enjoy the video, and again, if you have any questions, feel free to give me a call.
Now, I actually talked to Gary, and he's online. So, hi, Gary. Thanks for letting me talk a little bit about you. I wanted to make sure that he was okay with me talking about some of the successes that he's had with video. And great job last month. He sold 26 cars. So if you look at the impact of what video has done for Gary. Under 2016, we have the number of cars that he had been selling. So he was selling 11. He started using video as a response, and he jumped his average to 16. So nice job jumping 5 units. So what was one of the biggest impacts that kind of changed Gary? If you look at the number of lead responses, video lead responses that he was sending out on a monthly basis, he went from 8 to 18. Now, in visiting with Gary earlier today, he said that he has a rule of thumb. If he wants to sell 15 cars, he knows he needs to at least average 30 video lead responses. And what are some of those video lead responses? Well, it may be just the intro that he just did. But the point is that here's a guy working at a pretty successful dealership, and he's taking a couple minutes in order to make his responses to his customer base a little bit different than what the average salesperson does, and he's having great success with it. Here's another example of a video lead response from the same operation.
Hey Doug, hey Rosemary, Brooke here at Smart Motors. I just wanted to follow up with you because I know you're having a hard time deciding between the Pilot and the Highlander. So I have attached a video of a 2016 XLE Highlander, the exact same vehicle that we test drove the last time you were in, except for it's a different color. So if you have any questions or you'd like to schedule another test drive, feel free to give me a call, text, email, whatever works best for you. All that information can be found on that card that I gave you, along with my number scrolling across the bottom of the screen right here. Thank you, and I hope you guys enjoy. Have a great day. This is our 2000.
So I like the way that Brooke handled this because she's basically following up with a prospect that she didn't close, and she's sending a video overview of the car that she's trying to actually land the customer on. And so video engagement will separate anybody on the phone and take you guys to the next level. So here's kind of a summary of what we've visited about, starting with the customer journey. And what would a recommendation be? And as Eliana mentioned at the beginning, I've been involved with video for 13 years. So number one, get involved in pre-roll. As mentioned earlier, you don't have to spend that much money to make an impact. Pre-roll through either YouTube or DoubleClick. And for those of you that have influence over service, it's a tremendous opportunity on the service side as well. Get involved in Facebook video. A lot of you are probably doing display ads on Facebook because that's becoming a bigger deal. But get involved in running 15-second ads on Facebook. Video content on your website. At least at the minimum have a high-quality stitched video, and if you don't know that term, that's where there are companies like ours where we can pan and scan on the individual videos. Next best would be full motion video, and again, there are applications where you can actually train somebody to do the walk around. There are companies like ours where we can lay in a voice track. New model virtual test drives, video lead responses, which we were just talking about. And then I think I have an example, video email campaigns would be another opportunity. Now, we're running short on time, but I did want to share this. We were involved in a national pilot with one of the OEMs. And Tony, you can speak to this if you've seen this data. And I can't mention who it is, but it's one of the bigger guys. And we worked with 120 some odd dealers in this pilot. So different stores from across the country. So the primary reason to get involved in pre-roll is what we just talked about, creating awareness, getting click-throughs to the website, actually driving foot traffic to your store, as well as people to look at the VDPs. Here was an additional opportunity that we weren't expecting, but Google actually gave us the stats, where with these dealers that were in these various areas, we, because of pre-roll, impacted the search results. We had an 83% higher stat with the pilot DMA regions that were involved in this than the national average. 95% higher in the pilot states than the national average. And so, Tony, are you aware of this specific pilot or something like it where video pre-roll, if it's being done, let's say, with a group of stores, can actually impact the search results and what people are using Google to identify, primarily, let's say, looking for a specific dealership?
Yeah, and I kind of touched on it earlier when I was
Yeah.
talking about measuring success, and video absolutely can drive search. Remember, search is essentially a proxy for intent. So when someone goes to that search bar, they're basically telling you what they're about to do, and we find that that's absolutely what we see, is that you're creating this demand, you're creating this awareness, you're introducing yourself and your products, and then people are then showing that intent. They're reacting and they're going to search. Yeah, I totally agree with you, Phil.
Good, good. So, and part of the reason Tony is here representing Google is it's safe to say that search is absolutely critical, but if you're looking to complement that video pre-roll can be complementary. Is
Absolutely.
that a fair statement? Okay, good. All right, so I'm going to skip ahead because we are out of time. I had some additional content, but just because I know everybody has busy schedules, what I'd like to do is turn it back to you, Eliana.
Oh, we fast forwarded a lot. Okay, you have to go back a little bit. You have to go back a little bit at least. Yeah, don't you have a few things to tell them about?
I can touch on some of this. So in terms of service campaigns, I will play this example. I had mentioned that service is becoming a bigger and bigger opportunity. So I will play this 30-second spot just to inspire everybody as a potential opportunity tied to service. Most dealers, at least once or twice a year, will have some type of a campaign tied to tires. Well, how do you get the word out? You have the ability by leveraging Google to identify people that are driving, let's say, your brand. So if you're a Ford dealer, you can identify and zero in on everybody that's driving a Ford product and run something like this. This is actually an FCA, so you could do the same thing with FCA.
Right now at our dealership, your Mopar authorized service center. Buy 3 tires and get the 4th for only $1. That's right, buy 3 tires and the 4th is just $1. Off-road or on, when it comes to the components on your vehicle that help keep you safe, tires are near the top of the list. Let us help you renew your driving confidence with a new set of tires. Click now and start saving today.
And I'll tell you, the results have been very, very strong where we're running campaigns. I do want to touch for a minute on this, and this is a Google stat or a slide as well. And I'd mentioned between 20 and 30% is what you should look for completed views. And from Google's perspective, and again, we've been teamed up with Google. We started even with their team out of India kind of mentoring us. And from the very beginning, their key metric is completed views because it shows, A, we're identifying the right audience, and it shows that the content is relevant. So anybody involved in these metrics, don't just look for click-throughs. Look for what percentage of the people elected to watch all of the video. And here's why. And I love this slide. And Tony, have you used this? Are you familiar with this? Change in consideration, favorability, and purchase intent. If you go down the middle, I'm sorry, cut you off. Have you seen this?
No, go ahead.
Oh, all right, so in the middle, it would be people watching part of that video ad. So 30 seconds, they watch 15 seconds. To the right, we have the metrics with people watching all 30 seconds. And if you look at what Google has put together, change in consideration, you're selling cars. That's obviously a key metric. We go from 57 to 76%. Favorability, 24 to 52%. Change in purchase intent, 35 to 61%. So as you're analyzing your campaigns, again, if you're at 10% or 15%, go back to the drawing board on your own or with your agency and say, hey, this is failing. I think I just have one more comparison. Again, the two giants, Google, absolutely. Facebook's kind of coming on strong. And from my point of view, and as Eliana, as you shared at the beginning, I've got Tony's boss, along with the head of Facebook, at a session at Digital Dealer. So if you're a digital dealer, don't miss that. Why would these guys come together? because they're not going head-to-head against each other. Quite frankly, the premise will be, if you as a dealer are not taking advantage of these two giants, you're probably missing opportunities. And I guess one of the conclusions will hopefully be, with people listening in on this, if I'm probably wasting money in some of these other avenues, I don't have to spend that much money to have reach by leveraging, let's say, the Google concepts, whether it's TrueView or DoubleClick, and getting involved in Facebook ads. You'll see a difference in terms of click-throughs. When you're running DoubleClick, we actually usually will push for a 1% click-through play. It's going to be a little bit lower on the TrueView side, just with the way it's set up. But there are some post-engagement opportunities when you're actually running Facebook ads. So with that, Eliana, I think I covered the key points, and I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you so much, Phil, and thank you so much, Tony. I know we're going to have to let Tony go in just a minute. Real fast, Phil, did you have any suggested resources or action items you wanted to share with the audience?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I get a lot of my concepts. If you guys just Google Think with Google, I get, it may not be every day, but it's close to either every day or every other day. It's free. You have to subscribe to it. There's a resource that gives me some of these ideas so I can stay up. You know, Google's a massive company. They've got some of the smartest folks in the entire country working for them, like Tony. And it's great because I'm able to stay in touch with at least a percentage of these initiatives that they're involved with. Also, if you go to this site, UnityWorks Media, I've been writing off and on for the last 12 years, and you'll see publications from myself, other folks, and other content tied directly to UnityWorks Media. So action points, what do I recommend? What's the final wrap-up? Well, obviously, get dialed in with pre-roll. You don't have to spend that much money. It's a fraction compared to, let's say, traditional media. And leverage that in as part of your go-to-market strategy. Get involved with video ads on Facebook. Test, and there are applications. If anybody's interested, my contact will be at the end. You can call me. I have some referrals. There are easy apps, and encourage your salespeople to get involved in trying video responses. You know, I showed the case study with Gary. It is absolutely making an impact. It doesn't take that much. It doesn't take that much time. Test full motion video with your inventory as well.
Well, now we got a party. All right, thank you so much for that. That was an amazing presentation. Tony, how you doing over there?
I'm doing great. Yeah, and I'm just soaking it up. Phil's you know, Phil, you're a pretty smart guy. I'm learning something.
Because I'm hanging out with you, Tony.
Look at me getting all the smart people together. I love this. All right, audience, we already got some really great questions in. If you haven't gotten in your question yet, now is the time. Get those questions in. We're going to get to them in just a moment. Before we do, though, I would like to direct your attention over to the handouts section of the GoToWebinar interface. So look on your interface and look for the word that says handouts, and there's a little triangle next to it. If you click on that triangle, it'll open up, and in there you're going to find 3 awesome handouts. They're available for immediate download and available until the end of this broadcast. But if I were you, I'd download those handouts now. So real quick, we have today's slide deck as one of the handouts. We also have a case study that Phil has provided for us, and I'll go back to Phil in just a second so he can tell us more about that. And then also some key takeaways. We have a one-pager on that as well. Phil, is there anything you need to tell the audience about the case study that we have in the handout section?
Oh, it's a summary of Gary, and I included, based on the conversation that I had with him earlier today, the success that he had last month and the ratio that he uses. And again, this is from one salesperson, but I love it. If he wants to sell 15 cars, he knows he needs to send out at least 30 email responses. So he's actually tracking a correlation between units. Now, last month, as mentioned, he sold 26. So he's and last month he didn't send out quite as many video email responses, but he absolutely believes that there's a direct tie.
So just remind the audience, the case study with your friend, what was his name again?
Gary.
Gary.
Mm-hmm. And he's online.
Yes.
He's listening.
Oh, he is. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So if, just remind everyone, his, with the use of video, his sales went up by how much?
Well, they went, here, let me back up. Because I want to make sure I have the right stat here. He was selling in 2016 an average of 11 cars. Mm-hmm. He took his average up this year, January through June, to 16.
Wow.
So I talked to him earlier today. Yeah, that alone is great. Now here's the unbelievable news. Last month he sold and delivered 26 cars. 26.
What? Look at you, Gary. All right.
So, this is like gold. So hopefully everybody's paid attention to this.
Okay, all right.
And he absolutely equates a lot of this to a video lead response opportunity, separating it. Video's much more engaging than text.
Yes.
And it's a separation. Now, here's my prediction. 10 years, 5 years from now, I think most stores will be encouraging and requiring at least the BDCs and their better salespeople to use tools like this so that they're not being left behind. So this will become more and more common, and those that refuse to get into this game, let's say 5 years down the road, their responses will look antiquated.
I agree. All right, let's, anyway, those handouts are available for you, so make sure you get those downloaded. Let's go and give away the prizes, and then we're going to get to our handful of great questions that we have in the queue. All right, let's go to the next slide. So, audience, if you heard it at the beginning of the webinar, I announced that our good friends over at Google and UnityWorks Media are giving away a sweet prize on today's webinar. 2 lucky webinar attendees will win a Google Chromecast. It is such a cool prize. How do I know? Because I have one. So get ready, get to your keyboards. First person to write in the correct response to one of our giveaway questions will be winning this awesome prize today. If you are a vendor, well, we love having you on our DealerOn webinars. We always do. You're always welcome here, but we're going to ask you to kindly sit this one out. These prizes are intended for dealership personnel only, but we thank you in advance. All right, everyone, here we go. Oh, I'm going to turn on my webcam. All right, everyone, here we go. Good luck, everyone. According to internal Google data, what is the percentage of auto YouTube views that come from a mobile device? And you can guess more than once. No one got it right yet. Oh, we have a winner. We have a winner. Oh, all right. Here we go. Oh, gosh, it keeps moving. Hold on. Here we go. Oh, of course it was Devan Rajkumar. He was not the first person to write in, but he was the first one who got it correctly. It was
all right.
59% was the answer we were looking for. Devan, you got fast fingers, my friend. Raj Kumar. Devan, do me a favor, sir. I'm going to need your mailing address, if you wouldn't mind, sir. So please send that in to me. All right, everyone. Devan is going to sit this one out, and you have another chance to win a Google Chromecast. All right, everyone. Here we go. Good luck. According to internal Google data, what is the #1 action taken by in-market auto shoppers after watching an automotive video content on YouTube? Woo, we have a winner. Let me see. What's your last name? Hold on, let me move this up. George.
It's a little easier.
George Barbary. Visit a dealership was the correct answer.
Right on.
George Barbary, that's right. Congratulations. Oh my gosh, I'm making it official, writing it down. George Barbary, I have not seen your name before, so I don't know what dealership you're from, but please send in your dealership name as well as your mailing address. That prize is going to come directly from our good friends over at Google and UnityWorks Media. They'll be sending it out as quickly as I can get them the address, so send that in. Now, for all the rest of you out there, I know we only gave away 2 cool prizes today, but you know what? We give away cool prizes every week on the DealerOn webinars, so come on back to another DealerOn webinar. That might be the day that you win a cool prize. But for right now, we're going to congratulate Devan Rajkumar from Van Dusen Chevrolet in Ontario, Canada, and George Barbary, who still has not sent me his name of the dealership. George Barbary, I'm sure, is well, let's see. Oh, here we go. He's from Honda West in Alberta, Canada. Wow, we have two Canadians
Wow,
in
we've
one
got some
today.
Canadians. That's good.
All right. So Devon, George, congratulations. Of course, yes, big congratulations to today's winner. We got to thank our good friends over at Google and UnityWorks Media for their incredible generosity. All right, everyone. Let's get to your questions. Let's go to the next slide. Gentlemen, if you wouldn't mind, you're more than welcome to turn on your webcam if you'd like so they can see you.
Mm-hmm.
There we go.
Now, Tony is on his way to the airport, so he had to.
I knew we were going to lose him.
Yes, if it's a question tied specifically to Google, I'll make notes and I'll email back to the whoever calls in for Google specific content or questions.
All right, sounds great. All right, first question came in nice and early. It came in from Roy. Hi, Roy. He says, does YouTube have a paid subscription for people who don't want ads?
Yes. So as consumers, yes, you can block out the ads, and that's a good point for Tony to address. If let's say the next obvious question is, how is that affecting TrueView? And so I believe it's called red box, or there's a tone or a term where you can pay a small amount of money and bypass the ads. So, but I don't believe that that's a factor. Again, I'll get the specifics from Tony.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for your question, Roy. All right, next question comes in from Tanya. Tanya says, I'm wondering how dealers are tracking walk-in visitors after pre-roll viewing on a platform like YouTube. I'm wondering the same thing, Tanya. How can we show dealers, other than the salesman, selling cars, how can we show dealers and prove to them that videos are driving people to the dealership?
Showroom traffic, right. And that's a great question, Tanya. And quite frankly, at least once a week, I have discussions with GMs or dealers on this very point. Okay, Phil, I spent $1,000, $2,000 running pre-roll. How do I correlate that, not just with walk-in traffic, but how do I correlate that with sold units? And the answer is Google probably has those stats because they have unbelievable data on everybody, but because of privacy issues and that, we will never know 100% if we run an ad. We know how many video impressions we have. We know how many completed views we have. We can add pixels so that we know how many people went to the dealer's website and how many people came back to the website. But in terms of correlating specific, let's say John and Sally Smith saw this ad, they appeared as a showroom guest, and they bought a car. That's not available today. This whole concept of attribution is being focused on more and more. But the closest correlation would be television ads. With TV, which is where Google's really focused, taking away a percentage of the dollars that have been spent for 50 years on TV, and more effectively being able to drill into the 1%. Mm-hmm. If you run a 30, or let's say a TV spot, you don't even know how many people watched it. There are estimates. You certainly don't know how many people clicked over to the dealer's website. So the metrics are much further down the road than, let's say, traditional media. So one option would be having some type of a giveaway, but people are even reluctant to do that. In other words, have some type of a giveaway when the customer comes in as a result of seeing that ad. That would be the closest to tracking showroom traffic.
All right, Tanya, great question. Thank you so much for that. If you have a follow-up question, we'd love to hear it.
No, I hear it all the time, Tanya.
Yeah, no, I bet you do. All right, next question. This is an interesting one as well. Came in from Annette. Annette says, since the YouTube video needs 1,000 views before you can use them in an ad, how do you recommend doing this?
Okay, so yeah, with YouTube, with let's say $1,000. So I'll give you guys kind of an overview. For $1,000, we can usually expect about 25,000 to 26,000 video impressions in the typical town, more than 1,000. So it doesn't take a lot if we're talking about video pre-roll. Now, if the question is, I link a video to my YouTube channel, you may not get 1,000 views, but quite frankly, depending on whether or not it's being searched. So, just for clarity, if it's a TrueView ad, if you're spending any money at all, you're going to get much more than 1,000 views, or something's wrong. So let's say your ad budget is $500. You're going to get 25,000 people watching it. As I'd shared, what we would usually expect is 30% of those people to watch all of it, and then 1% of the 25,000 or 250 to click over to the website. So you get pretty big numbers with small budgets.
All right, so Annette wrote in with a lot of exclamation marks, I might add. She says, you can't place the ad and spend your money until you have 1,000 views.
Okay, we've run a lot of campaigns, Annette, so I may not understand the question. So, and we leverage DoubleClick. For the first 3 years, we leveraged TrueView, and we ran dealer campaigns for dealers all over the country. We're affiliated with some of the brands like FCA and Maserati and Kia. So we allocate budgets for all these dealers nationwide. And so Annette can call me and I can get clarity, and I can have even one of the folks who runs these campaigns, who's in the weeds every day, managing a group of people. I'll gladly introduce one of our folks to Annette so we can talk about the 1,000 limit, or the 1,000 views that she's talking about.
Oh, that would be great. Annette, let me tell you something. He doesn't have the nickname Mr. Video for nothing. So if I were you, I'd write down his phone number or his email address and do just that. Reach out to him after this show, and let's see how he can help you. And he has a great team of people as well. All right. So please, I hope you'll do that, Annette. Thank you so much for the great question. All right. Next one, comes from today's winner, George. He says, now this is really interesting. George says, I make a weekly video segment called The Steal of the Week, where we highlight a piece of aged, used inventory and then put a great price on it. My YouTube, I know, isn't that a great idea? He said,
yeah, I love it.
My YouTube videos are not very high, though. They're usually about 15 to 50 people, so less than 50 views. What are some of the best ways to organically increase my YouTube views?
That's a very good question. And again, that's a Tony question. I'm sorry he's on his way to the airport. But George, email me, and I'll have, and with any of the Google folks, they're not allowed to give their contact information. Right. But I'll reach out to Tony. I'll have Tony respond to me to answer that, because that's a very good question. I love the fact that you're actually doing something like that, producing video content for the aged inventory. Great idea. I
love it too.
But I understand. Yeah, you want to get some additional traffic. So that's a Tony question.
Now, George, just so you know, we had one of our listeners, not the Google gentleman, but one of our listeners named Tony, who wrote in, George, try vidIQ or TubeBuddy. So that was his input
recommendation.
On that. Yeah.
Good.
And George, I'm curious, are you putting these videos through social media as well? Are you putting them through Facebook, for instance? Just curious. All right. Great question. We have another question from George coming up in a little bit. All right. Next question actually comes from Tony, the one who gave George that little bit of advice. Tony says, why do dealers think that videos should be under 2 minutes? I believe that the customer will click off whenever they want to.
No, and
I know we talked about different lengths of videos. I mean, is there a tried and true formula? Should you use the 6-minute videos for one thing and a 30-second video for another? And hey, if you have a nice long 2-minute video, use it for something else?
Yeah, so here's how I answer it. We run a lot of videos here. On a big month, we'll run a million videos. So we're like one of the biggest producers of video content. That includes VIN video walkarounds. So, that will skew the numbers. But we run a lot of videos, so this engagement metric has always been important. What's the point of putting video content out there if they're only watching 20 seconds? So what we found as a company for, let's say, content out of a place like ours. 60 seconds is usually kind of the threshold where you start losing engagement. Now, with that stated, if you have a specialty truck or a Ferrari, an exotic, something very unique, quite frankly, you should go longer doing a video overview and video messaging. And so to Tony's point, if the person wants to click off, that's great. As a whole, let's say that it's a Ford, Chevy, Toyota store, and you're doing a video overview of a Camry, or let's say one of the main vehicles, a Passat, something like that. It's not going to grab their attention to go 4 minutes. You can cover the core areas a lot faster. But if I'm, let's say, considering a Porsche or a truck buyers are very, very specific. Everybody is aware of that if you're selling trucks.
Right.
Absolutely go 2-3 minutes. Go longer to really give an overview, and you'll be able to pull those prospects in from a much greater distance.
Okay. Thank you very much. Great advice from Mr. Video himself. Tony, Tony says the more they watch, the higher the interest.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair.
He says, thanks, Bill. And he says, so for my used Yugo, it should be how long?
Not 5 minutes.
Not 5 minutes.
Not 5. Right. But yeah, no, and I agree that if you can keep them engaged, you're doing a fabulous job.
I agree with that as well. All right, let's see. Oh, by the way, we heard back from George. He says, yes,
Okay.
I promote on Facebook, Google+, and Instagram if the length is short. We also promote the steals of the week through paid advertising on Facebook. Bravo, George. Okay, last couple questions, and then we'll close out the show. Bill wanted to know, how do we download this broadcast? Actually, I'm going to email it to you. After this webinar concludes, I'm going to put it up online, and as soon as it's ready, you'll get an email from me, so look out for that. And you can also find it online at DealerOn.com/webinar. At the bottom of the page, you'll see a link for, hey, did you miss a webinar? And we have all the webinars on there, from the very most recent at the top all the way down. You can even search for different subjects if you'd like as well. So, Bill, I hope that helped you out. Okay. Next question comes from George again. He says, are there any free apps that can be used to send video responses? We found one that's amazing, but it costs hundreds a month to activate.
Okay, so have George email me, and I've got one for $195. So there may be some free tools out there. I think $195 to set up the entire sales team with a very effective app that they can use with their phones. Easy to use, is a small investment. So I can help George out with that.
George, you have your invitation, sir. All right, thank you very much. Okay, and then the last question comes in from Tony. He says, does Google provide a percentage of videos watched by video? Huh?
Yeah, so completed, yeah. So we actually do that. So let's say you're running a 30-second spot, or let's say video content in general on YouTube. And if we're running pre-roll campaigns, we have the ability to track on our side the percentage of people that watch, let's say, 10 seconds or 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 15 seconds, all the way through to completion. Those are key metrics. But again, in terms of what Google does and what they provide for, let's say, TrueView, that would be a question that I would need to get with Tony to see what type of metrics, if a dealer is running TrueView campaigns on their own. What are the key metrics that a dealer can actually zero in on?
Yeah, and
I believe that that's available, but I need to confirm it.
Right, and Tony, as far as I know, Google tracks everything. So
oh, they do, but what
sure
are they willing?
It.
Yeah, what are they willing to share?
That's true too. That's true too. All right.
Yeah.
Phil, thank you so much. Audience, thank you so much for your questions and for your attention
thank you
today.
so much.
Phil, awesome always having Mr. Video here on my webinar. It won't be long before I have you back on again, I'm sure. And Tony, wherever you are, Travel safe, my friend. It was a pleasure having you on the show as well. Fantastic presentation. Of course, I want to remind the audience a link to download a copy of this webinar recording is going to be emailed to you later today for your reference. Feel free to share it with your friends and colleagues. Today's webinar is also going to be posted online within 24 hours. Simply go to DealerOn.com/webinars to view our upcoming webinar schedule or access any of our past webinars. And at the conclusion of this webinar in just a moment, you're going to get a short survey. It's only 3 questions, so please fill it out. We're always looking for quality feedback from our audience. We want to know what you thought of today's presentation, so tell us what you think. And yes, Phil Sura will be presenting at the upcoming Digital Dealer Convention in Vegas, September 18th to the 20th. He'll be talking about transforming your digital approach with video. He's going to be joined by some heavy hitters, Peter Lito, Head of Industry for Automotive Retail at Google, and Philip Rather, Head of Automotive Partnership at Facebook. Hot diggity! You're not going to want to miss this, people, so you can catch up with him also at Digital Dealer at booth 321. For tickets or more info, visit digitaldealerconvention.com. And yeah, DealerOn's going to be there too. We're going to be exhibiting and presenting at the upcoming Digital Dealer Convention. We're putting our money where our mouth is. You can get $50 just for sitting through a demo at DealerOn. That's right. Sign up for your demo at DealerOn.com. We'll even toss in a copy of the new book we wrote on local SEO. And while you're getting your digital dealer on, please check out the speaking sessions from the Beard and the Hair, Greg Gifford and Sean Rains, booth 305. I'm going to be there. I'll be hosting Tech Tank this time around, so hopefully you'll come over and say hi. I'd certainly love that. And invitations will be going out tomorrow for our next Dealer On webinar, How to Use Yesterday's Data to Sell More Cars Today. What? The ultimate goal of every dealer is to turn greater profits and increase market share, right? However, you can't win without first knowing what you've been losing. CRM and DMS data is kind of incomplete and one-dimensional and only shows the effectiveness of your own sales. But what if you could see into the sales trends of competing dealers or brands in your market? How many customers did you lose within a certain time frame? To which competitors did you lose them? Make no mistake, you have access to data that contains all the answers, but are you asking the right questions? This eye-opening 1-hour webinar is going to provide dealers with never-before-seen visibility into market conditions so that missed opportunities can now turn into closed sales. David Metter will show you how to use data to successfully grow your market share and reduce or even eliminate your losses. Attendees of this insightful presentation will learn how to define your greatest opportunity and losses tied to a specific lead or traffic source, salesperson, model, day, or even zip code. You'll also hear how to identify defection trends of competing stores or brands in your market to reduce lost sales and continuously grow your market share by first understanding what you're losing and why. If you're ready to learn how to use yesterday's data to sell more cars today, then don't you dare miss this presentation. So register now. And don't forget, DealerOn's weekly webinars are held Thursday at 12 noon Eastern, 11 a.m. Central, 10 a.m. Mountain, and 9 a.m. Pacific. If you have any questions, comments, or suggestions regarding our webinars and our topics, hey, contact me directly. I'd love to hear from you. Again, my name is Eliana Raggio. I am everywhere online. You can find me on Facebook, Twitter, Google+. I'm on all the automotive social networks. Or you know what? You can just email me directly. That's probably easiest at eliana@dealeron.com. Thank you all so very much for spending this time with us today, and I hope to see you all on another webinar in our continuing education series. Take care.
Thanks, Ellie.